Alright, what's up YouTube? Welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. We're doing some more Marvel Snap content today because I wanted to talk about the number one problem with Marvel Snap right now. And whilst they are quoting the slow card release schedule as one of its advantages, I think as a person coming from Magic the Gathering that has 1 billion cards every minute, the slow card release has some major drawbacks that people are just now starting to realize. Right, and the first one for me is the slow card release and the small card pool means that players aren't able to innovate in such a way as, let's say, the Leech Leader meta that I feel like we're currently on the tail end of, right? Because of the prevalence of these two main cards, it says that what you do on the very, very final turn is super duper important, and it's trying to play around that specific part of the turn, right? And that means that you as a player, you go, okay, what can I do? What kind of things can I play that solves this problem? The only thing I can think of that doesn't care about Leech is Infinite, because Infinite, you're just like, fine, I'll just haymaker Infinite on the final turn. But Leader still beats that, right? And because the card pool is so small, eventually something will happen, a specific deck or a card will be released, and something will come out that says that the rock for this scissors doesn't exist yet, and players will be unable to find a solution to such a thing, and that means that that card will either dominate the meta or be nerfed until it doesn't exist anymore. And I don't think that that is a good state for the game to be in. And the other problem is that it also means that if one pair of scissors exists and paper becomes a problem, then everyone must play scissors. So until the game gets to a spot where there is more cards that solve similar problems, we're going to start to progress slowly towards a solved meta. But the way that cards are being released at the moment, specifically with Galactus and Thanos, they both seem to create a whole deck archetype on their own. And so if every single card release is doing that, then all they're doing is just adding more and more options, more and more decks, rather than solving problems with things that are particularly strong. Which means that we might see like ridiculously huge nerfs constantly, all the time, as people complain about stuff. And a lot of the time, the average complaint is, and the solution suggested is that something's power should be reduced. And all that does is make Mr. Negative stronger. And so these things are like never really the fixes that people think, because they've already got cards that handle the downsides that people are trying to give to things to balance how powerful they are, which doesn't really work either. And the other thing that comes on the back of this problem is that Galactus comes out. I don't own Galactus. Statistically speaking, you, viewer watching this video, doesn't own Galactus. But there's still a lot of knowledge about how Galactus works and functions and is being played because all of the big YouTube content creators have a big lead time, because a lot of them are in the beta release, and have a full collection and just like ripped exactly the card out of the token shop as the token shop was released. And that means that we've had a few weeks of videos about how these cards are played and how they function. And so people are entering that meta and seeing the plays that those decks make, what those kind of deck lists look like. That card comes out. When you as a player are supposed to be entering the difficulty tier of where that exists in the pool 3, you probably know exactly how it works already. And so even when you're not in that bracket where that meta exists, you still have a knowledge of what the meta is in that bracket. And it means that a lot of these cards don't stay new and interesting for very long, unless if you are literally just playing in the app and not really paying attention to like Twitter or YouTube or anything like that. And if you're watching a video on my take on what's the problem with Marvel Snap, then you probably are aware with what's going on YouTube, right? So we're going to have this really awkward problem with how the meta is going to function. And I think releasing just one card every week, while yes, that is interesting, and they're like really going to commit to how this release schedule is going to work, it means that rather than having a one card release schedule, we're going to be having super more often buff and nerf schedule where one new card might come out, but 6 cards might change every time to stop the problems and keep things fresh and stale. And it's going to look like more and more like League of Legends patch notes every time something new happens, where they adjust 100,000 things rather than, hey, here's a new thing. I don't know that I think that's a good idea, especially if it's just the power changing amongst things. I don't know that I like that as a solution to anything. My personal solution to leader is that leader just copies the first thing played. So if your opponent is playing one huge thing, you beat them. If your opponent is playing multiple things, they have to then keenly choose the first thing to be the worst thing, and then leader gets that, and then your best thing is the last thing or whatever, right? Which to me feels not ridiculous. But then that means that if you play like Wong leader or something like that, you'll get 2 extra things, or rather than just everything filling up fast or whatever like that. So I think there is ways to fix stuff that isn't just power changes like everyone seems to suggest, because that's like the Angela and Destroyer nerfs that we got. That's what they look like. I don't know that Destroyer is much different now that it's 1 less power, but I don't know how you would change that otherwise. So I don't know. What do you think? Are you worried about the Marvel Snap meta going forwards? Are you frustrated with the slow release strategy? Do you feel like the slow release of cards makes you frustrated as a deck builder and incentivized to spend lots and lots of money just to feel like you're constantly interacting with building new decks in the game, like I am? What do you think? Drop a comment so I can reply to you mostly. That's, I don't know, how I'm thinking and feeling about what's going on right now. Tell us what you think. Hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, because that tells me that I need to make more Marvel Snap content. And hopefully I'll see you in the next thing. Thanks.